Sir, please, can we have you on the stage?
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm audible to everybody?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. I'm really
সামনেটা
overwhelmed and
স্যারেরটা লাইট
express my gratitude
স্যারেরটা
to all
লাইট
of
দিতে
you
বলো
for arranging such a beautiful
স্যারেরটা
program,
লাইট দিতে বলো
National Pharmacy Week, and for inviting us for being a part of this program. Okay. First of all, revised Schedule M. Why I have chosen this topic? So, can you tell me what is Schedule M? So, it is not a. I will not talk directly. I will ask some question also. I need feedback from your side also. So, what is Schedule M? Who can tell me? Anyone from the audience? Do you know what is Schedule M? Okay, well tried. Actually, it is a good manufacturing practice, which is nicely said. The thing is that whatever the product we are manufacturing, the pharmacy product, so that should have a guideline. How we are manufacturing the products, how we are testing the products, how it will come to the consumer also. So that guideline tells about everything in the Schedule M. Schedule M is the Indian guideline. Different countries having the different guidelines for manufacturing, for purchasing, testing, everything. Schedule M is the Indian guideline. Schedule M is a part of Drug and Cosmetics Act of 1940, specified in the good manufacturing practice of the pharmaceuticals. And all the pharmaceuticals and all the manufacturing units in India need to comply the Schedule M. What will happen if we don't comply the Schedule M? Schedule M comply नहीं होगा तो क्या हो सकता है? Anybody else? Okay. Sometimes we are consuming the drugs. When we are taking the drugs, when our body is not capable or resist the outside infections or diseases. So that most vital period of time we are consuming the medicines. So if we don't comply the Schedule M, what will happen? The quality of the product will decrease. And suppose doctor is prescribing, you are taking one medicine per day for 3 days. क्या होता है? हम लोग मेडिसिन भी लेते हैं, फिर 2 दिन 3 दिन बाद, एक हफ्ता बाद बोलते हैं वो डॉक्टर अच्छा नहीं है. But it is not the fault of the doctor. It is the fault of that quality of medicine you are consuming. Okay. So that's why to maintain a certain level of the product, until you are not maintaining the certain level of the product, it is not effective as much as you require at the time when you are really sick, when your body is not capable of resist with your immune system is not resisting with the viral diseases or anything else. So that's why Schedule M and its compliance is mandatory. Why Schedule M revised? The thing is that earlier Schedule M was very reluctant and it kept some portion also which is very necessary for the manufacturing of the drug products. What happened? The main objective is behind to the revision of the Schedule M is the harmonization of the quality of product. I have heard so many people when we are taking medicine in India, it is not that much effective. But when the same medicine we are taking in the outside of India, in European country or in US, that is very effective. Why? Because they maintain a certain quality. It has been observed that most of the Indian companies having a tendency to uh, supply a sub-standard medicine. So this substandard medicine, it is, as I said, it is not that much effective in the body. That's why Indian regulatory agency, that is the CDSCO, they also thought about that our quality of product should be as per the world level. Whatever the other countries are manufacturing the product, it should be at the same level. That's why they fought for revision of the Schedule M. Harmonization is similar to the requirement for the PIC standards. PIC is a pharmaceutical investigation standards. So different agencies are coming for auditing the each and every plant they are auditing. The main motto of the auditing is whether that company is manufactured the same quality of product or not. For that purpose, to meet that requirement also, Schedule M has been revised. This will help many small and medium companies to compete the export markets of regulatory. Suppose Indian drugs are not as per the required quality, then that drug, who will purchase that drug? Nobody will purchase. How many of you purchase a drug when it is showing in the tag the expiry date is over? How many of you purchase? Any of you purchase the drug which is expiry date is over? No. Because you have an apprehension the drug may not effective. Similarly, all the other countries, when they are maintaining a certain level, in India cannot. That's why Schedule M has been revised to maintain their level also. Naturally, when the quality will improve, you can export the drug easily to the outside countries. With the establishment of the Schedule M, many companies in India are comply with the basic principle of the GMP. Do you know what is GMP?
Good manufacturing practices.
Who can say?
Good manufacturing practices.
What is GMP? Very good. Good manufacturing practice. Okay. This new revision is designed to the risk-based approach of the methodology where more emphasis is given to the quality risk management and its principle. When a drug is brought into the market, so that time also we have to do the risk assessment. What is the risk assessment? Means we have to do a risk assessment how it will affect our body. Suppose you are consuming paracetamol. Maybe it reduce your body temperature, but does it have any effect that may damage your body or other parts of the body? So that's why every company has to do a risk assessment that drug is safe for consumption. All the things what we are doing, we are manufacturing the things for the human consumption. So that risk assessment also has to be done. That was not there in the earlier Schedule M, which has been incorporated in the new Schedule M. Why India to join PCI? The Indian pharmaceutical industry has more than 100 CEPs. CEPs actually when you are exporting any drug to the European country, they also have some rules and regulations. So that rules and regulation you have to comply, then only they will allow your product to sell in the European countries. So that's why in the India more than 1,000 of companies are there who filed for the CEPs. Another very important regulatory agency, that is the TGA, which is from Australia, ANVISA from Brazil, and obviously all of you have heard the name of US FDA. So US FDA, the term actually for the pharmacy world, it terms actually it is like a terror. If any plant is audited by the US FDA, everybody is now in soup. What they are not coming for the they are not coming for the review of your document. They are basically coming for investigation, because all the American and European countries, especially Japan, they have a apprehension that India is manufacturing always a bad quality of product. So we are going there, we'll identify them, and we'll just issue a 483 or the warning letter that you are not be able to manufacture the product. So they have a tendency to prove this. That's why Indian regulatory agency, they have decided that our product level, our company standard should be upgraded. Reduction in the inspection and the subsequent inspection findings. In earlier, when we joined in the industry in 2010, 2011, that time the US FDA very frequently they are coming to for inspection. Now, if India can reach a certain level, their level of their inspection also reduce, because they can then trust on our regulatory agencies. So that's why it is also revised. It will help support the Indian credentials as the best quality manufacturer in the pharmaceutical. India have everything, then why they should not come to that level also? That's why it is very important for revision. It helps in confidence building throughout the globalization and the harmonization of the GMP. Old Schedule M that deals with the two section, part 1, which is related to the good manufacturing practice, and part 2 is for the plant and the equipments, especially the external preparations, oral liquids, tablets, powder. This part 2 basically for the formulation product. We have actually in the drug manufacturing we have two parts. One is the API. API is the main ingredient which actually reacts in our body. Formulation, what we are consuming from the market. It's a form of tablet, capsule, syrup, whatever may be. So it only deals this thing. It was not in detail. But the revised Schedule M having the different parts. Total 13 parts included in the revised Schedule M. Part 1 is the pharmaceutical quality system. Pharmaceutical quality system is required to maintain certain quality of the product. Next is the quality risk assessment. I told the risk assessment has been done by has to be done by each and every organization, that how safe their drugs. Qualification and validation, GMP for pharmaceutical products, that is GMP has to be maintained, and GMP is not that the only the good manufacturing practice. It starts from the procurement of a raw material also. How the quality of the raw material be. So the raw material is also very, very important. Even the packing material. You are packaging the material in the LDB bags or in a foil or in a bottle. That quality of the bottle is good enough to store your product for a long time. That is also tested in the quality control department. So this is also very important. When a raw material is procured, that time it is GMP started until the product not reach to the vendor or to the customer. So entire thing comes in the GMP. Procurement of raw material, its receiving, its storage, its distribution, manufacturing, testing, again packing, transportation even also. It comes under the GMP entire thing. Suppose you are manufacturing a product, you just dispatch the material in 40 degrees Celsius temperature. Melting point of the product is 25 degrees. What will happen? Simply it will melt. Nobody will consume this material, neither from the shop, and the customers also, they immediately send a mail, your product is like that, we have received the product in a melted condition. So we are rejecting the entire lot. And immediately they will return it back. So transportation also comes under GMP. Qualification and the validation. It is the most important term. Qualification and validation. Why qualification is required? Anybody can say? Why qualification is required? Qualification means qualification and validation, it is almost a synonymous. Suppose you are testing a drug in India in one laboratory condition, the temperature is normally, in laboratory condition temperature is around 30 degree. Same product when you are selling to a customer who is sitting in the US at -°C, whether it will give the same result or the result will vary. So that's why you have to validate in your laboratory condition the product, whatever tested in here, it will give the same result whenever it will be tested in the world. So there's a various parameters are there for the validation. The process validation is there, cleaning validation is there, analytical method validation is there. Analytical method validation, there's so many parameters are there inside in the analytical method validation. So many things you have to check. Then only you can say your product is validated and it is safe for users. So that is also very important. It is included in the Schedule M, which was not there in the earlier Schedule M. Compliance and the adverse reaction. We all know that is, if we consume the allopathic drug, it have some side effects. What does mean it by side effect? Side effect means along with the all the drugs are manufactured based on a hardcore chemical reaction and nothing else. All the drugs. Very few these herbal things are there. That is a different. That is also having some side effect also, but much less than the allopathic drug, because these are hardcore chemicals, and chemicals are basically it is a reaction, chemical reaction. So along with the main product, it also generates some side impurities also. So that Prabhupada will say that about the impurities, that impurity may affect your organ. So that's why the allopathic drug normally we will say, no, it is not safe to use. It has so many side effects. So that is also need to be evaluated. How much, up to how much impurities is acceptable in the drug. If it is more than that level, so it is not safe for users. Product recall. Product recall means if your medicine is failed in the outside or any vendor, any consumer, they can return back the product, and that product also not like that you have received the product and you keep it in the warehouse. That also you have to analyze whether it is really the product having the problem or the manufacturer got some different result. So that is also very clearly defined in the Schedule M, how to treat the recalled product. And if it is really, a product is really failing to meet the specification, then how you can destroy the material, that is also clearly Schedule M mentioned. Change control. Anything in the pharmaceutical world, anything you want to change, that should be documented. Nothing can be changed from here to here. It is very easy, like keeping the water bottle here, tomorrow here, today here. But in pharmaceutical world, it is also having some effect, whether these changes impacting your product, whether it is an instrument change, is a method change, your policy change, whatever may be. That changes should be addressed. Risk assessment has to be done, because everything is related to the human health. Production under loan license and the contract analysis and other activities. Suppose I have a facility, I have such a money that I can make a medicine manufacturing unit, but I don't have the facility to manufacture all the steps of the product. So I can procure it, some stages and I can procure it from the other vendors. So that is also clearly mentioned. How can I procure the intermediate stages of a product from which vendor? that is also, they should have to be also qualify the Schedule M guidelines. So that is also clearly mentioned. So many companies are there. They are just marketing the product, but actually the product is manufactured by some other companies. Self-inspection, quality audits, supplier audit and the approvals. Self-inspection is very much required. It is the internal audit system. So every company having the different schedule. Somebody having, some organization having the schedule of 3 months, some organization having 6 months, some having the once in a year. That depends on the organization policy. So that is not clearly mentioned what will be the frequency of the inspection, but it is mentioned the self-inspection is very much required. It is like your examination also. So the one department is inspected by the other department's people. So they can neutrally evaluate the performance and the quality, the GMP, safety aspect, whether it is maintained or not. Quality audits. Quality audit can be done by the third party. Quality audit can be done by any regulatory agencies also. And the supplier audit, vendor audit. When you are procuring some material, raw materials from the vendor, so you have to qualify that vendor also, whether that vendor supplying the material as per your requirement or they are also manufacturing the substandard quality of product. If they are manufacturing a substandard quality of product, you cannot reach your product up to that level. So that's why vendor audit is also very important. If your raw material is not good enough, you cannot, your process, your synthesis, your mechanism cannot bring the product up to more than 99% pure. So vendor has to be, the supplier has to be also audited. That is also clearly mentioned. Point number 10 is the personnel. Personnel, its activity. How the person will behave inside the premises. That is also they have mentioned. What will be their dress code? How they will handle the products. First of all, person safety also mentioned in the Schedule M. Suppose I am manufacturing a cytotoxic drug, which is normally given to the cancer patient. So when I am itself exposed to drug, I have how much effect on that one also. That is also comes under the personal hygiene. So how much, what type of precaution should I take? That is also mentioned in the Schedule M. Premises. How will be your premises? Where you are manufacturing? It is just a bare ground or should have just one building? So that is also mentioned. So many criteria are there. When you are manufacturing the intermediate stages, the criteria are little bit relaxed. The room temperature only it is mentioned. There is no criticalities involved in the intermediate stages. But when you move to the finished product, so there is so many things. Why you came without your shoes inside the room? Just tell me. Why you entered in this room without your shoes?
Maintain the cleanliness.
Absolutely. Like this, when you are manufacturing a product at the finished stage, that cleanliness is very much important because your outside garment, your shoes, that can bring the so many things which you cannot visualize. That is the bacteria, pathogens. Dust you can see, but the bacteria, pathogen you can't see. That if it is inside your product, what will happen? So that is also clearly defined in the Schedule M how your premises will be. Equipments. Suppose I have a 200 liter tub, I just start manufacturing. Is it allowed or not? That is also they have mentioned. How the equipment will be. It should be SS, either SS or the glass made or the this Teflon made, but that depends based on the product, how the reactions are happening during your manufacturing of the product. That is also they are just generalize the things, not in details, because you are doing an acid-base reaction. Normally acid-base reaction, it is avoid the SS reactor. So these things also they have mentioned. Earlier it was not mentioned in the schedule. Reference standard. Do you know what is reference standard or standard? Anyone? Standard, it is means you know its purity. Standard is its purity. Suppose we are making a volumetric solution with a primary standard, means we know its strength, we know the things. Normally primary standards are not titrated against anything else. So standard means you know its purity, you know its structure, how the structure is, its water content and everything. It means you know the detail of the molecule. So against the standard, you have to test to verify whether your product is also up to that level or it is below. If it is below, then your product is rejected. So that's why reference standards are so many type of standards are there. One is reference standard, another is the working standard. Reference standard is normally it is directly you have to procure from the pharmacopoeia, either IP or USP or DPEP, because they are manufacturing this standard up to that level. The purity is more than 99%, almost 100% pure material they are manufactured. So that product you have to procure from them. And also guideline also accept that suppose every organization may do not have that money to procure the standard. Standards is a 5 milligram standard is a more than a lakh is cost. Some standards is a 5 lakh, some standards is 80,000. So pharmacopoeia also given concession that you may also prepare your product, but that standard or that product should meet the reference standard quality at least. So that standard is called the in-house standard or the working standard. So that is also clearly mentioned in the schedule. Waste material, it is a common thing. The waste is a biological waste is there, chemical waste, gaseous waste. So that waste disposal procedure also mentioned. If it is a biological waste, so you have to treat the biological waste as per through the proper vendor, the approved vendor, and you should have a agreement with the vendor how they are also disposing the material. They are just bringing the material from your plant and throwing to the ground or not. So that is also Schedule M mentioned, how this waste should be treated. Documentation is very important, because without documentation, pharmaceutical world is totally blind. Because in the US FDA guideline, one line has been written: if it did not documented, the things not happen. Means everything should be documented. Whatever you are doing, that should be documented. This is a part of GMP, this documentation. Good manufacturing practice is a part of this documentation and everything. Good practice in the quality control lab, that is called a good laboratory practice, GLP. So how the testing lab or the laboratory will do the analysis, that is also mentioned. So many rules and regulation is there, from starting to the end of the product and the product disposal also. And computerized system validation. This is important because now all the instruments are run by a computer. So whether the data generated from that system is reliable or not, that you can do the manipulation. Suppose you are getting a peak of around 99%, and you have seen that it is failing. So can you make it manipulate or make it more than 99%? So that's why your system has to be validated, and everything in the system should be captured in the audit trail. Any unauthorized access done or not, that is also to be evaluated. Part 2 is a scientific requirement for the manufacture of the sterile products, parental, small volume injectable and the large volume injectables. Their facility, how the facility will be, they are testing, because API having some relaxation, but when a product comes to the end, that is for the formulation of the tablet, capsule or injectable form, the criteria are more stringent. Part 3 specification requirement for the manufacturing of the pharmaceutical products, hazardous substance such as sex hormones, steroids, anabolics, cytotoxic materials. These is very crucial. Earlier Schedule M, it was not clearly mentioned what to do and what not to do. Now they have mentioned for this kind of materials, because hormonal products are dangerous. Cytotoxic product is also very dangerous. There is a chances of modification of the immune system. So that's why its uses is mentioned, how to use the things and what are the precautions you should take. Specification required for the manufacture of the biological products also. Specification is a common for all. Specification means it is a guideline. So up to that, if the product meets that specification, means it's qualified for use. If it is below the specification, it is disqualified. Specific requirement for the phytopharmaceutical 7 is for the specific requirement for the manufacturing of the investigation pharmaceutical products for the clinical trial in humans. Clinical trial also in human, that is also Schedule M now considering. So can you do the human trial or not? That is also a guideline also says. Specific requirement for the manufacture of the oral solid and doses. Tablet capsule normally is mostly used, and for the syrup also. Specific requirement for the manufacture of the tropical products. Specific requirements for the manufacturing of the metered doses. Inhaler now it is a very common. Now last week I went to the shop, and the store people, they are telling inhaler is most demanding product is the inhaler in this season. So that is also clearly mentioned, Schedule M. For the manufacturers, how they will manufacture the inhalers. Specific requirement for the manufacture of the active pharmaceutical ingredients. This part we are dealing, we are from the API. Requirement for the plant and equipments. So these 13 chapters is included in the Schedule M, which was missing in the earlier. Only earlier Schedule M mentioned the GMP, and part 2 mentioned for the oral and the oral injectable products. Now plan for Schedule M. Schedule M now has planned that each and every manufacturing unit should have the following things: a list of SOPs. Do you know what is SOP? Very standard operating procedure. Means each and every activities you are doing, that should be guided by your internal policy. Regulatory policy is different. From the regulatory policy, you can derive your internal policies, but should not violate the guideline of the international policies. Your SOP can be little bit relaxed, little bit stringent, but it should not deviate from the international guidelines or the Schedule M. List of the records to be prepared. Record is very important. Facility upgradation. Suppose you have a very old facility of 1950s, still you are manufacturing. You don't have the facility for protection of the dust, protection of the virus, bacteria. So you won't get the approval from the CDSCO or the state drug authority. They won't give you approval. Equipment and the modern equipment. They also emphasize on the procurement of the modern equipments. Because modern equipment is associated with all the audit trails activity. Means whatever the activities you are doing, that is captured by the system. Means your modern equipment is supported by the computerized system. SOP should have, that is the pharmacy quality scheme. QRM is the quality review management system. Every year or every 6 months you have to re-qualify your product. You have to verify whether the product manufactured in last year still it maintain its quality or not. That has to be re-evaluated by your own department. Qualification, validation, product complaint and adverse reaction handling. Product recall, change control. Change control is, I already have told, is anything you change that should be or guided by a procedure. That change control SOP should be there. Self-inspection, quality audits, supplier audit, approvals, personnel behavior or not everything. Even some company I know, in my earlier company, every day they are taking the alcohol breath analyzer. We have to pass through alcohol breath analyzer. Because the person is coming to the factory, he consume alcohol or not. Even when we joined, it is mentioned clearly, you can't consume alcohol 8 hours prior to the office. So these things also mentioned in the schedule. Waste material disposal, documentation, job responsibilities. Everyone's job responsibility having a defined policy. Suppose I'm a manager, whether I'm entitled to go and do the analysis? No. Manager cannot do the analysis. Because I know the everything, it is assumed I know the everything, I can do any manipulation, I can make the material pass. So managers cannot do the analysis. They have some restriction. They can be the administrator of the department. They can be the administrator of the instrument. And the analyst who can only do the analysis because he or she don't have the other access. He or she cannot do any manipulation. That is also restricted by the system. So that is also clearly mentioned. Job responsibilities, MFR, BMR and BPR. These are the, MFR is the master formulatory record that is normally coming from the R&D. They are first manufacturing their, after their research work, they just give a guideline how you can manufacture your product. From that guideline, it is bring to the batch manufacturing practice or batch manufacturing record. In the batch manufacturing record, everything is mentioned. How, suppose it is mentioned, you have to take a compound A, 100 gram. Then you add 10 ml of water, stir for 30 minutes. Like this, each and every step you have to mention in the SOP. And same has to be followed. When the outside agencies or any customers are coming for audit, they evaluating each and everything whether you have done the same thing or not. So many companies got 483, same person at the same time have done the 2 operations. How does it possible? Means they have done some manipulation. Somebody has done the in one unit 1 in one operation and another one is doing another operation in unit 2. But both the time are same. It cannot be. So that is also, so many times India got 483s, these warning letters from US FDA regarding these things. So these things now considered by the Schedule M. Sanitization for the cleanliness of your premises. Stability study. Stability study is most important because from the stability study data, we come to know the expiry of the material. During when you are procuring any product, normally we are checking product is expiry date. That expiry date decided based on the stability study. For API, normally 6 years, up to 5 years or 6 years, you have to do the product stability, whether your product is stable up to this period or not. Based on that, formulator giving the expiry date. Suppose your product is stable up to 2 years. Formulator cannot give the expiry date for 2 years. They should give the expiry date less than the API's product stability or the shelf life. OS is the out of specification, means your product meets the standard or not. If it is below the standard, you have to do the documentation, you have to do the investigation in detail, because your everything is written. This is your equipment, this equipment is validated, this is your environment, this environment is validated, your vendor is validated, quality of the raw material is validated, but why the product failed? It is failed due to some over the involvement of the human, or it is malfunction of the instruments. So that has to be evaluated in detail. And normally the auditor's most interesting thing is the investigation of the OS. So many companies, Fresenius Kavi, Cipla, Dr. Reddy's, all got 483s for the inadequate investigation of the OS. Because first the material failed, again the same material passed. How does it possible? That first, it came to the auditor's mind, means they have done some manipulation, either they have changed the sample or they have done something which gives the second time the past result. So that's why this investigation is very, very, very important. Cleaning validation. After manufacturing product, how you will clean your equipment, how you will clean your facility, that is also mentioned, and that procedure should be validated. And similarly, same the cleaning of the laboratory equipment also very important. That has to be also validated, because one product is contaminated, your glassware is contaminated by one product. Whether your cleaning procedure is sufficient to remove all the contaminant or not, that is to be done. And the HVAC system, the air handling system, the humidity, temperature, everything, that is also clearly mentioned, that HVAC system also to be validated before you're taking your batches. Personal SOPs, reference standard, how the reference standard will be, and if you want to manufacture, if you want to make a internal reference standard, so how you will make your internal reference standard, that SOP is also need. Waste material disposal, documentation, job responsibilities. Okay, I think it is repeated. Site master file. Site master file gives a brief description of the entire plant, about the plant location, its number of departments, number of manpower, its layout, its equipment, its instrument, everything. And also the role of the managers, the departmental head, what is their role, that is also gives a brief description in the site master file. Waste log and reports, deviation and deviation reports. Deviation is whatever is the written procedure is there. If you departure from your written procedure, that calls a deviation. So you, in the pharmaceutical world, you cannot do anything as you wish. You have to do whatever is written. If single line is departure from your written procedure, it calls a deviation. You have to do the investigation. QA will closely monitoring you, why you have deviated, what is your intention, so many things. So that is also mentioned in the Schedule M. Failure investigation report, any kind of failure, whatever it is failed at the customer end, whatever it is failed at your plant. APQR is the annual product review. CAPA is the corrective and preventive action against your deviation, against your failure. You have to take a corrective action and the preventive action. Corrective action means immediately what measure you have taken, and preventive action is what measure you are taking to prevent the reoccurrence of the same thing. So that is also mentioned. Water for injection and its validation procedure also mentioned in the Schedule M. HVAC system, instrument, equipment qualification already told. Now these are some regulatory agencies. Indian regulatory agency is the Central Drug Standards Control Organization, that is CDSCO. US is the US FDA, it is a United States Food and Drug Administration. Brazil is commonly called as NVISA. European Union is the EDQM. Japan is PMD, and Australia is Therapeutic Good Administration. These are the TGA. These are the most, the most critical to pass their audit. If you once pass their audit, the whole world will accept your product. Like that, Schedule M is revised to come in that level. That once the Schedule M is qualified, then other countries can accept your product. That's why Schedule M revised. Okay. Now, thank you. This is my last slide. Do you have any questions?
Thank you, sir, for elaborating the Schedule M, the new protocols which have been launched. Now, we request Amrita Malik, Madhuri Bhumik and Murali Sadas to come on the stage for the transfer. We have just give us 2 minutes. We have a couple of questions here. I request Mr. Bhattacharya, he can please address the questions.
Sir, you have explained one HVAC system or HVAC system. How does it imply in quality of the product?
Actually, HVAC having so many. Have you studied HVAC? Is
Not
part
really.
of your course?
No,
Then I
have
will
studied
tell you
about the
very
HEPA filters
layman
and all.
language, then I will tell you. Okay, actually HVAC, there's so many filters are there in the HVAC system. It's a 20 micron filter, 10 micron, 5 micron like this. And also having a facility for handling your air means sometimes it can provide the hot air, it can also generate the cold air also. So when the air is coming from the outside, the function of the HVAC is to filter one by one. The 20 micron cannot resist the virus, bacteria. It only protects the dust particles. Then coming to the 10 micron, it also protects the dust. When it is passing through the 5 micron or when we are using in the formulatory area, is a class D or class A, it is guided by the HEPA. HEPA can remove your bacteria, virus and whatever the dust particle not resist by the earlier filters. So like that, when it is coming, it is supplied, the air is totally purified. Nowadays in the ACs it is written it's a bacteria free, virus free like this. It is not like that. It is really free of any contaminant. So that is very much required, because when you are manufacturing bacteria, virus you can't see. So your dress code inside that area also totally different. You have to take a full body suit, you have to remove your outside clothes, there's so many change rooms are there. One by one change room, you have to pass through that air also. Like that, it is, you can allow to enter inside the manufacturing area. Similarly, in the manufacturing area, so many powders are generating. That powder is also exposed to the outside or not. That is also controlled by your HVAC system. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
So what is the difference between qualification and validation? You have mentioned two points, qualification and validation. Can you explain us about that?
Actually, through validation, you can qualify. How you are qualifying? Through examination. Your examination is the validation. If your validation is passed, then you are qualified. You have to first comply the validation. Validation means in the validation, so many parameters are there, which is much more stringent than your specification. So your product is validated, your system is validated, means it is qualified.
After performing the validation procedure, then we can say the product is qualified or not.
Exactly. Not only validation, but so many things are also there. But validation is the, in very layman language, I am saying validation. Okay. Or anything else? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bhattacharya, for answering the queries from the students. I request Amrita Malik, Madhumita Bhomik, and Mona Lisa Das to please come on the stage.
बन में रास रचो बनवारी श्याम अधर बांसुरी बाजे बाबरी होठ पर राधी का नाम शीश राजे मोर मुकुट शोभे गलमाला धुन मधुर से मन लुभावे ब्रज में नंद लाला कुसुम कुंज माझे मृदुल मधुर वंशी बाजे विसरी त्रास लोक लाजे सजनिया बोलो गहन कुसुम कुंज माझे घननी से सोवत चहुती सी एक राधिका जागे गति चलत मधुमति लोक लाज को त्यागे सकल फुल वन गंध मोदित गगन चंद्र महाराजे विहंग गावे कदम छाए मधुर बांसुरी बाजे देख लो सखी श्याम राय नयन प्रेम उथल जाय मधुर बदन अमृत सदन चंद्रमाय निंदिछे आवो आवो सजनी वृंद हेरब सखी श्री गोविंद आवो आवो सजनी वृंद हेरब सखी श्री गोविंद श्याम को पदार विंद श्याम को पदार विंद भानु सिंह बंदी छे गहन कुसुम कुंज माझे मृदुल मधुर वंशी बाजे विसरी त्रास लोक लाजे सजनिया बोलो गहन कुसुम कुंज माझे
Thank you, dear students, for the refreshing dance performance. Now, may I request Mr. Prabhuda Basu, Executive QC ASG Biochem Private Limited, to join us on the stage for the question 2.